Good afternoon, everyone. To those of you who are online, I'm just going to make Vicky the host, Victoria, sorry, so we can get started.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Good afternoon.
Let me just get you set up.
Have a little play with this and make sure that you've got everything that you need to do. Okay, so you should be spotlighted on everyone's page now. All right, so I'll just do a brief introduction for those for the attendees, and then we'll hand straight over to you.
Thank you.
So hello everyone, and thank you for being here today. This is our week of inspiration, which we're hosting instead of the Salon Cornwall event that we would normally do, which would be in person with demos and exhibitions and stuff. So instead of that, this year we've gone virtual, and we've got these great webinars, live sessions, video content, blogs that's all being posted over on the our Facebook page, which is the Professional Hair and Beauty with Truro and Penrith College. So just to say as well, this week of content is part of Hospitality Table Cornwall, which is an ESF funded project through Truro and Penrith College, and we provide fully funded courses and events for the hospitality, hair, beauty and complementary therapy industries in Cornwall. And we are recording this session, so along with all the other videos that we've got this week, this will be going up onto our YouTube channel later on this week. And yeah, I think that's it. Feel free to ask any questions. We've got the chat box going on, we've got a Q&A function. So now I'm just going to mute myself and pass over to Victoria.
Thank you. So today's little mini lecture really heavily relies on obviously me doing my little bit of tutorial, but absolutely questions from you, because just talking to an empty room it's not the best thing, because I can't see the things that you already know that you're interested in, or what you struggle with, or just any queries you have. So there's no point me just talking blindly for an hour and then you think, oh, I know all this has been a complete waste of my time. Please use me for my experience. So if you have any questions, if I can, hopefully, I think I'll be able to see them pop up. Otherwise, Nikki, will you just sort of jump in maybe and voice them? I can only see myself on the screen, so if anyone's nodding or agreeing with me.
Yes, I can see all of the chat box, so yeah, I'll be able to.
Great. So I don't know if you know what we're doing today. Let me get my hair out of the way, but I thought I would firstly come on with no makeup. So you're welcome, because I feel awful right now, but this is me with no makeup. And I thought we'd just start from the real basics. So what I find when I do lecture at different universities around the UK is that, well, thanks very much, is that there is, in a college course, you're being taught a lot of different avenues of makeup. And in my second lecture at 3 p.m, I'm going to sort of go more deeply into different avenues you can go down as a makeup artist in terms of career. But I do appreciate at college level, you're sort of given a little bit of everything. So it sounds really bad, but a bit like a jack of all trades and a master of none. So you're just kind of doing a bit of prosthetics, you're doing a bit of beauty, you're doing a bit of editorial, there's a bit of hair there. And all of those things are really important, because you do want to know that, oh, I absolutely hate wig making, I hate knotting mustaches, but I really love doing a really amazing eye and great lashes. And that's good, because you can go from there for, you know, your future training or assisting, whatever way you want to go down, and really like focus on those topics. But what I am also seeing is that the very basic levels of makeup and what will get you out there earning money ASAP aren't always covered in maybe as enough depth as need be. I think there's also a real problem in more provincial colleges where there's a lot of white students, and the mixed race and black students are really at a low number. So therefore you're practicing on white skin, on very young skin. You know, I'm guessing most people in the college course are maybe under 25. So in theory, your skin is wonderful, if not, you know, a few blemishes and all the things that we normally struggle with. But it just means that the sort of like the overall being able just to have a really great knowledge of skin wear and skincare it just can't be as broad as it should be. Now, the way to get around that obviously is to practice on friends and family. I appreciate in the last year, not been so easy. And to get out there and to assist, even just to assist on weddings. And I know weddings are kind of maybe sort of I find I'm quite looked down upon when I say I do weddings as well as working in TV, and especially when I work in fashion, no one knows I do weddings. But the brilliant thing about weddings is that you've got gran, mother, bridesmaids, bride, black, white, Asian, whatever skin it could be, any age. And that is a really great mix of people to work on. And the basic thing you need to know, first of all, is good skin wear, or what we wear on our skin to make us look flawless. So that's what I'm basically going to do today, is a really good skin, really good glossy, bright, shiny skin, which isn't necessarily what I do in TV, but I think is what looks best on most ages, and a bit of a like sort of classic kind of smoky eye. Again, please tell me if you know any of this, pop up on the messages, say why are you doing it this way, what's the difference between this and this, because me talking for an hour is not going to be fun for anyone, especially if you already know it. So anyway, so let's get going. So the most important thing when you approach a face, someone's skin, male or female, any age, is you sort of just pick it apart. You have a little look and think, okay, so there's a few blemishes. Now at the moment, as you can see, I've got, well, I'm a nightmare because it's kind of a spot under the skin, and then I go in and I make it 10,000 times worse. So don't do as I do, do as I say. Spots here. I've got a lot of discoloration on my chin. I don't know if you can see, I don't know if this light is good enough, but like I've got these sort of like age sun spots here. They get much more common as you get older. Obviously I think extremely dark under my eyes, and other like sort of like mottly skin around here. So my skin from here, from this view, I think it looks fairly good. I'm going to be 36 on the 13th of March. I've never had anything done to my face or my skin. I've always worn SPF. I've never been in the sun, not never, I mean I have, but I really try to avoid the sun. I wear a lot of hats, I wear sunglasses, and I hydrate my skin hugely. So the first thing I'm going to look at, and obviously I'm doing it on myself, so it's not a very great demonstration, but it's all we can do right now, is that, okay, I haven't got too many lines, that's fine, you know, so I don't have to maybe worry about that much hydration. I do definitely need to put a bit of oomph into my skin to brighten it a little bit, and I do need coverage on the spots, I need coverage under my eyes. So I'm instantly thinking, okay, this person, i.e. me, hasn't got too many lines, so I can get away with a slightly heavier coverage under my eyes, which will help me get rid of those dark circles. If I was working on someone in their 50s, 60s, whatever it might be, and they do have slightly more lines and the skin is a little bit crepier, I'll be thinking, oh, I do need a little bit of coverage, but I'm not going to go too heavy because I don't want it to sit in the lines. That's another little stage later on, but let's get into the skincare I'm putting on. Now, every single day, I put on a serum. So the first thing you put on your face is a serum. That will always, I'm just seeing if I've got one here. I've already got it on, so should I do it again? I'm not going to put it on again because I don't want to like roll or like get too heavy, because I have got a serum on, because obviously I've worked out and I showered and put my stuff on. But in theory, I'd put on a serum first. Now, that serum has to be extreme light and fine. All serums generally are that consistency. And the reason the serum goes first is because the lighter the product, not in colour, but in weight, in density, it goes first. So it goes serum, eye cream, moisturizer, SPF. So as the thicker the products go on, that's when they go on their skin. So serum first. Now the one I use at the moment is a vitamin C serum. The reason I'm using vitamin C is because it's very good for brightening in the skin, so to get rid of these little pigmentation marks. They haven't made a massive change yet, but you know, we're sticking in there, and it really helps to hydrate and plump the skin. I might also use a hyaluronic acid serum, again, to plump and hydrate the skin. The best thing you can do, I think, as a student of makeup or beauty, is to be getting on YouTube, not watching anyone like James Charles. Don't watch any of like the big famous Nikki tutorials. I mean, do watch them because they're really interesting, but you actually want to go and look at the skincare experts on there. You want to go and look at people who really know what they're talking about in terms of what skincare to use as a base for makeup. So, and I'm not going to have to think of anyone off the top of my head now. No, so for maybe a younger crowd, I know Hiram, he's in Hawaiian vlogger, very, very good on his skincare, very good for talking about skincare in younger skins, because I do think that's sometimes missed, because you should be starting your skincare as young as possible. But I do appreciate that you're not going to be spending lots of money on serums and all these different things, maybe until a few years down the line. But obviously, the sooner you look after your skin, the better. Although the most important thing anyone could do if you want to spend no money at all is just put SPF on. SPF and a £5 simple moisturiser. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. Who could you look at? I might have to put this in a different, or maybe pop this on my Facebook or something at some point to bring up some names, because they've instantly left my head. And I just can't think of them right now, but just have a really good look on YouTube for skincare tutorials. And really soak in what they're saying. If you're not sure what hyaluronic acid is, research it. If you don't know what niacinamide is, research it. If you don't know what vitamin C esters are, research it. As soon as you start to know what they are, you'll start looking at them and the back of what we call the Inky list, which is all the ingredients on the back of your brands, and you'll be able to pick what you want to buy and what you want to put on yourself or your clients' faces by being able to read the back. And also that way you'll know that if you've got a £16 product and a £5 product, if the back says the same thing, buy the £5 product, because I can promise you the £60 one, you're just paying for the name and the packaging. Anyway, so the first things are the skin. So like I say, I've already put my serum on, but I'm going to go and put on a little bit of moisturiser now, because I want this to be a really glossy, dewy skin. And any foundation you put on always applies so much more beautifully over your face when you've got a bit of slip, so a little bit of moisture underneath. I'm going to use some Madara SOS Rich Barrier Seeker Cream, and it's for very dry, stressed skin. Now, my skin might not look dry, but it's very thirsty. I can put on layers and layers and layers of product, and they just soak in, and that's fine for me. If you come across someone who has extremely greasy skin, very oily skin, maybe prone to acne, you want to be thinking about just using the serum and maybe not going in with a moisturizer as well, because it might be just a little bit too much grease for the skin if you're about to put makeup on. That said, if you do suffer with acne or very oily skin, the thing you should be doing is moisturizing, because the reason the skin is producing oil is because it's desperate. It needs something there to hydrate it. So by trying to avoid creams is only going to overproduce more oil, more sebum. So actually you're doing the right thing by putting some moisturizer on.
Just, there's a question popped up. Nikki's asked, how long would you usually wait before applying makeup after you've put your skincare on? So do you need to wait for it to kind of sink in completely, or like you were saying, you want that bit of slip?
Yeah, I mean, ideally you would wait maybe 5 minutes. I don't have that luxury of time when I'm working on clients. So that's why I would just put on a sort of not a huge amount and really try and press it into the skin and let it sink in. One thing you could do in TV, especially, and in fashion, and with celebs as well, you have to do hair and makeup. You can't just be a makeup artist or just a hairstylist. So I would maybe do the skincare, pop and go over to the hair, do a blow dry, put their hair in rollers, whatever I need to do, and then go back to the skin.
All right,
so yeah. So listen, I now have put loads of cream on my face by this point, and there's a bit of shine, and I want that moisture in there. I want it working, but I want to take away a bit of that shine. So I'm going to go in with a Pore and Shine Control Primer. There's a few different primers that are really important. If you want a skin that is a dewy, glossy skin, look for a primer that looks like a moisturizer that's white, and then it's kind of slippery and that it rubs in just like a moisturizer. I mean, obviously you'd probably be doing this maybe with a buffing brush at this point. I'm doing it with my fingers because I can. I mean, there are times when I did use my hands I would use my hands to moisturize into skin for clients. I don't know what's going to happen with that from now on in these times. The other primer that you're going to find is a primer that's kind of a clear silicone-based primer that when you squeeze it on your hand, it squeezes out clear, and when you rub it, it almost turns to like a velvet effect, and that's a great for blurring the skin if there's fine lines, if there's a huge amount of shine. And the great thing about it being clear is that you can use it on black skin, brown skin, you can use it on men. No one knows there's makeup on there, but it will take away the extra shine. So really concentrate on knowing that a primer should be white and like a moisturizer or clear. One is to really hydrate, to absorb into the skin and take away a bit of shine, but to help with pores. And the other one is kind of just to glide over the skin and like sort of create like a velvety base that just takes away any shine and blurs everything away. So those two things are on now, and I think my skin is looking like it's got a bit of hydration. You can see a bit of glow there, but I want it to be even brighter, which is why I'm going to go in with a highlighting product now. So I think most makeup artists in this day and age have a bit of a problem with highlighters, because we're seeing powder highlighters used daily on every skin at any age and all over the face. And that is a real problem, because highlighter, the clue in the title is highlight. You are drawing attention to parts of the face that you might want to recede. So fine lines around the eyes, bumps, spots. By sweeping a powder highlighter over there with a big brush, you're just going boop, 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 look at me. It is the worst thing. And also the reason we hate them is because they just look so cakey, because people put the foundation on, put the concealer on, put the powder on, then they bake. No one bakes. Baking's not a thing in the real world. Then they, unless maybe you're in the only way is Essex and 21. That's the only time you're going to get away with that. But then they do that, and then there's a load of powder highlighter on top, and you're just looking at this cakey, dry and heavy skin. It does nothing for anyone. The only time that might be looking really beautiful is if someone's doing a vlog in front of a big ring light and looking gorgeous. If they're on a shoot and they've got a team around them, and the photographs can be taken there and then, preserved in history. No way would that ever work for everyday life, for brides, for me to do a TV show. It's just never going to be powdery like that. So we look at liquid highlighters. Now, this is my well-loved and very rubbed off Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter. Obviously, there's a myriad of liquid highlighters out there. NARS doing great ones. But the difference between this is that it's almost a foundation and a highlighter in one. Although the foundation alone wouldn't be enough to actually give you enough coverage. Can you see that sort of there? Light's very bad in here. This, since I've started using it, is pretty much the main thing I use on my skin and on some clients' skin. And then I go in with the foundation and then a concealer. And I kind of see what I can take away with this before I have to go in with the other products. If I was doing this for a photo shoot, yes, you could use this highlighter, because you have control over the model or the client. Like, you can position them, you know they're going to be photographed, and you know you can retouch after. If I was using this on TV, it would probably be a big no-no. In fact, a lot of what I'm doing today would be a big no-no, because we need skin on TV to be very matte on TV shows, else everyone just looks sweaty and horrible. That said, I might just use it in sporadic places around the face where I really want to jump some highlighter out. Anyway, I'm going to show you what I do to me. So I'm going to pop this on the areas. Does anyone know that the areas that you'd want to highlight, that you'd want to push the light away? Mine would always be the tops of my cheekbones. I want the light to be pushing out from there because I want my cheekbone to look as high and lifted as possible. Maybe a tiny bit on the bridge of my nose. I'm going to pop a little bit in the middle of my forehead. Now, that's a bit of a scary one, because no one wants to fight a shiny forehead. And I do have some lines forming up here, so I don't want to highlight those. So I've stopped before I've reached that line. I'm also going to take this into my inner eye and underneath my eye. Now, I can do this because I haven't got a huge amount of lines underneath my eyes. Putting a highlighter too much underneath the eyes, if you've got any crepiness, can be a little bit tricky. I'm also going to put a tiny bit on my chin. Now, just by doing that, you can see that I'm pushing light in certain areas. So the light underneath my eyes is working really well, because it's sort of diffusing the darkness away and pushing light underneath there. The light on my cheekbones is working really well, a bit on my nose and my chin. So these bits are coming forward, and anything that I haven't highlighted is hopefully going back. Now I'm going to buff that in. I'm going to use a very dense buffing brush, not a foundation. Well, this can be a foundation brush, but traditionally you would think a foundation brush is this sort of a flat, yes, Cupid's bow, but that's a great point. The only reason I haven't put it on my Cupid's bow now is because that's sort of like an after touch, because I know I'm going to put in so much around it that it might get kind of blurred away. But yeah, Cupid's bow is a great place. So I'm going to buff in with this type of blending brush, because I just think I want to move this product around and gloss it over my cheeks, under my eyes, whereas a foundation brush, a flat one, would paint it. It literally would push it down. Well, I don't want to do that. I just want to buff it in and keep it looking as light and hydrated and pretty as possible. So I almost want to buff it so it's buffing into the areas where I haven't applied it, and just almost like it sinks into the skin, so it's just disappeared. So it's giving me a lovely glow, but it's just sitting back away. So another version of that would be something like these little drops. These are by Madara, but I know, oh God, I'm terrible with brands. I think Becca do these drops, Alf, loads. You find they come in this little dropper. You can pop them on the back of your hat, or on your palette, I should say. And then you'd mix a little bit of Cover Effects. That was it. They're brilliant ones. Thank you for reminding me. And then mixing those into your foundation would create the same sort of effect as what I've just used with the Charlotte Tilbury. Be really careful when you're buying highlighter or highlighting drops. This is obviously a really pale champagne colour. Now my skin, I would say, is fairly light. I wonder if I can get any of that onto there. It's fairly light, so I can get away with this. Could you use this on brown skin? No. Could you use this on black skin? No. Equally, could you use a highlighter that's like in a really rich bronzy gold on white skin? Probably not. It would look really weird. So the colour of your highlighter very much applies to the colour of your skin. And that's why I'm starting to see lots of people who look like robots with this like purpley, silvery kind of weird stripe down their cheek. Looks like almost muddy. That's because that tone is not right for your skin. That's for a cold blue skin. It shouldn't be on a warm Mediterranean skin or a skin that heavily fake tans. So just be really aware of that when you're buying it. So I'm going to go in with my foundation now. Now I'm going to use my Makeup Forever Ultra HD. The reason I'm using this is because it gives me great coverage, but it's really workable and it will let my skin breathe. I don't think I personally need a lot of foundation. I'm not one of those makeup artists who covers the face in foundation first and then sees what like concealing is left needs to be done. I would rather spend more time really working on my concealing and concealing work than covering my face in a really heavy mask of foundation and then thinking that, oh, it looks different to my neck or it's going to crease. So I'm going to use a very tiny amount. I'm going to mix on the back of my mind, on the back of my hand. Hang on, Megan's just wrote a little comment, but the bottom of it was lost. I couldn't click onto it. So could someone tell me what Megan said?
So Megan has asked, do you advise products at a high end are better, or have you come across any high street brands which are just as good?
So no, high-end brands are not necessarily any better, and each brand of makeup is good for their own things, and if you like it, you like it. High-end brands and high street brands are usually made in the same factory with exactly the same ingredients and then put in slightly higher priced packaging or using the name of Giorgio Armani to sell it for £32, where someone like L'Oreal can be sold for £6. I don't use any high street brands purely because the people I'm working with don't want to see it on my kit layout, on my flat lay. They need to see expensive brands and well-known brands. That said, the brands I use are usually from makeup houses rather than fashion houses. So I do use Chanel, I do use Giorgio Armani, their foundations. I don't use any Dior, but I very La Masca, brands that have come from a makeup background, even Clinique. I know Clinique's kind of high street, but if they've come from a makeup, like they've been made by makeup artists, or if they've come from a skincare line and the skincare has evolved into makeup, that's what you want to invest in. Investing in brands that have a name attached to them, like the Dior's, not that they're not any good, or like the Kim Kardashian or Kylie's. I promise you they will be made in a factory in China exactly the same as where every other brand is made. It's just the name and just the packaging that you're paying for. The reason I don't use high street is, like I say, is because the clients don't necessarily want to see it. So my knowledge of it isn't very good, because on my day off, I'm sure as hell not going to Superdrug and playing with makeup. I've got no interest in makeup. I couldn't care less about makeup. It's not my hobby. It is my job. So I'm not as maybe as well advised in makeup brands as anyone who's using them every day. So I would love to know what you think of high street brands. That said, like, I do get sent certain products like by companies like Elf, and that's when I do get to try them, and they're fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with them. It's just experimenting and works on what works best with you. What I do find with high street brands is that they don't have a very good colour breadth, so they don't have very good tones for black skin. And therefore, I don't want to give any money to a company that doesn't incorporate all races around the world. I just think it's embarrassing, and I don't want to encourage them anyway. But Makeup Forever do, and they're really lovely matte makeup, but they're really fine, and I'll be able to keep my skin glowy even though I'm putting them on. Now, I've got two colours here. I never use a foundation straight from the bottle on anyone. Well, if I do, that is very lucky that I've managed to find a foundation that suits them. I'm a makeup artist, so I mix the colours. That sounds really wanky, I know, but I did study art, and I do think you can't always just come from a beauty background with makeup. You do need to know colour theory and how to mix really well. So I'm going to get those two colours, and I'm actually going to use this lovely buffing brush again, just because I again want the skin to look really light, and I don't want to paint it on, I just want to buff it in. So obviously, if I was doing this on the client, I'd be using a palette these days, although I did forever in the last 17 years, always use my hand to mix with. I'm taking the pale, and then I just sort of kind of grab a bit of that darker tan into the pale, and I just kind of keep working it. I mean, I know myself pretty well until I can see what I think kind of works for me, and then I just try buffing it into the skin. And that's kind of looking not too bad. I think maybe I could go a bit of halo there, although I have got a bit of tan on. So I just keep working it, and actually I do the same on clients. I'll start in the middle of their face, and I'll test the colour, and then I'll add a little bit more in. So even if the first time I put makeup on the face, I think, I think that looks a bit light for them, I immediately go and mix in a darker colour, and then I sort of temper it on the face. I kind of work on the face rather than just mixing a big old batch on the back of my hand thinking, yeah, that looks right, and then putting it on and realising it isn't. I'd rather dab a bit and go, doesn't work, add a bit more colour in. And the reason I can do that is because the skin has got a bit of slip there already. So it's not kind of dragging across. I can easily mix colours without adding more and more and looking like it's ending up really cakey. So as you can see, I'm starting on the middle of my face, and I'm just working that product outwards, because I know I don't need coverage here, really. I don't really need coverage here. The older you get, the older skins that you're doing, the less foundation is needed. By the time you're hopefully getting into your sort of mid-30s to 40s, your skin hopefully is evened itself out a little bit. Obviously, a lot of people are new mums at that stage. And when you've got young babies or children, you do have sort of problems with skin, your hormones are changed. So you might need a little bit more coverage on that person. But generally, the older you are, so when you get into doing someone into their 70s and their 80s, their skin pretty much doesn't really sort of need a foundation as such. You want to just be working with concealer. So there are a lot of times when foundation doesn't need to be the first thing you think about. Now, I've kept rubbing that until there's really kind of nothing left on my brush. My brush is almost dry. It's not wet, it's dry. And I've just done that so much now, and so much buffing, that it's worked it into the skin. And hopefully that means it's given me a lot of coverage, very fine coverage, but it's not going to go heavy and settle into the lines. And if I'm looking at myself now, I mean, I haven't got a mirror in front of me, but I'm thinking, all right, that's definitely better than it was. I've got a bit of glow there. I can see my Charlotte Tilbury coming out a little bit underneath, but I've still got a few spots to work with. So let's head into concealing, which is the biggest thing I do and the most important thing. Does anyone know the two types of concealer? Can anyone jump in and say what they are? I have a tiny little sip of coffee. No guesses? Two different kinds? Okay, so the first one is a water-based and the second one is an oil-based. Water-based is thinner. Water is thinner than oil. Oil-based is thicker. Bit self-explanatory there. This is an oil-based concealer. It doesn't fall out of the pot when I tip it upside down. A water-based concealer normally comes in a wand, and in theory, although it won't, it would pour out of this if I left it for long enough. Water-based goes under the eyes because the finest bit of skin needs the finest product. Oil-based goes on the skin for spots because the thickest skin, the toughest skin needs a thicker product. So that's kind of how you can remember it. So I'm going to go in first and do a little bit of conceal correction. Now, this is my own. This is a Becca Ultimate Coverage Concealing Cream. So I'm going to go straight into the pot because it's for me. Otherwise, I would get a spatula, pop a little bit out, put it on my hand, although we're not allowed to do that anymore. Put it on a palette and I'd work from there. I would also have 2 of these, or I'd have, you sometimes see concealers in like palettes, you know, so Bobbi de Brown did an amazing concealer palette. Who else does? Laura Mercier do an amazing secret camouflage. There's 2 colours in one palette and you can just mix them together. If you bought 4 or 5 of those secret camouflages in your kit, you would end up with like every colour you'd need to conceal under the sun. So normally I'd mix 2 concealers together. I'm not going to on me because I kind of know that this works. I think I need a mirror for this to see what I'm doing. And I take a tiny bit on the end of like a very small stiff buffing brush and I just dot that onto the areas that I think I need concealing coverage. Just put a bit on that blemish that I have up there. So all the product is being pushed on. Maybe a bit around the nose. And just a couple of seconds while they've been pushed on, they're drying and they're setting in there. And then I'm going to go back to the first one I did and just blend those edges out. So I've put a blob on there. I know you can see it's a little bit whiter. One thing with concealer on the skin, never, ever, ever do a lighter skin tone than the skin. I know that's something we want to do when we're doing eyes. Never do that on the skin because again, you're highlighting, you're going beep, 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 look at me. So make sure it is exactly the same color as what you've mixed for the foundation. So I'm sort of just going around the spot. Can you see I've put the main density of color on the center of the spot and then I'm just blending it out. Same down here. Just blurring that color out. This concealer actually could be a bit paler for me. It's looking a teeny bit yellowy in this light. Any excess on my brush, I'm going to go in again, just dab around the edge. So the main pigment, the main colour that I'm putting on is staying exactly where I want it to stay. And I'm just blurring it out. And again, like before, I ended up with nothing on my brush. And again, I could put this on a black skin right now, and I know there'd be nothing on there because I've just used the teeniest amount and I've blended and blended and blended until, in theory, that coverage is gone. Now, under the eyes, I'm absolutely sick of seeing this. Well, I'm really sick of seeing this as well, actually, when people do this. I mean, what is that about? What is going on with people doing that? Again, only good if you are so young and beautiful that that is never going to crack. If you are so young and beautiful that that's not going to crack, why the hell are you putting it on like that? You just do. No one needs that much concealer. The only time it looks right is in a very, very heavily covered photo shoot. I've worked on many, many editorial campaigns. You would be chucked out of the studio if I did that to a model. It would look so heavy. Maybe if I was doing a celeb who came from a reality background and they've kind of grown up or come up in the Kardashian times where this kind of concealing is a really fashionable thing to do, and if they absolutely requested me to do it, I would do it, but I would be embarrassed to see them on camera because I know it would look really heavy. The sad thing about this is I do look absolutely incredible when I do it. When anyone does this, you think, oh my goodness, this looks absolutely amazing. Look how flawless I look. And you sort of trick yourself into thinking, this is absolutely how I want to be seen. But then about an hour later, you look in the mirror and you go, bloody hell, what people must have been looking at me thinking, what has she got on her face? Because it just ends up looking so heavy. I'm going to do my best to try and blend that side in so you can see the difference between the two. Now, I don't think you can see it in your cameras or on your monitors. Maybe you can, but I haven't even got the product is starting to make, I don't think you can see it, lines with the brush. If your brush is making lines in the product, you've put too much on. I mean, of course, it really brightens the eye, but the skin, I can see every pore, every problem. One, I didn't think I've got lines. I now have lines from this much coverage. And it's also way too pale. It's almost making my eye look smaller. Can you see how it looks like my eyes sort of shrunken into my head? because this is highlighting so much of these areas that it's made my eye recede. Does that kind of make sense? So anyway, I'm actually going to go in and do this side with what I think is the right amount and the right colour. Again, I've got two, I mean, these are two very contrasting shades. I actually wouldn't have bought these two for myself. I would have bought like two that were slightly closer together. But I've used this because I want to actually do some contour with this later. So I'm going to pop these on the back of my hand. Again, it would probably be on a palette in real life. I'm going to mix these and do this eye just to give me a little bit of lift under the eye. See if I can get the right shade between these two. The great thing about if you're really you're a good artist and you're able to mix colours is that it makes your kit not so heavy, because with your makeup kit you need maybe 4 or 5 different foundation brands, because you'll need different types of foundation, you know, dry skin, older skin, whatever. Then you'll need different, sorry, I've had 2 messages that just pop up and they've thrown me completely. You'll need different brands in case anyone's allergic to a certain brand. So you're going to need a lot of bottles of foundation, as well as a lot of eyeshadows and blah, 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 everything else. So if you're really good at mixing, it means you don't have to carry the whole range of foundations. You can carry probably 4 or 5. And because they're made in the same formula, just with different amounts of pigment, you can mix to exactly what you need. So anyway, I'm going to go in with my other eye. I'm just going to use this little mirror. I'm just going to really take that colour into my inner eye socket. Now this area here, I'm using a really nice fluffy blending brush. This area here is always ignored, and I have no idea why people ignore it, because that is such, especially as you get older, you lose the fat in your skin. So what this all here is just fat against your skull. That will, your collagen and the fat will decrease as you get older, and that leaves eyes kind of getting very sunken. So you get the loose skin and then the eyes will sink away. And then you get this really, really deep shadow in here. And people always conceal by concealing under here. That's not the problem. There's normally a bit of fat there to pull the colour away from the darkness away. When it's very thin into that eye cavity, the socket cavity, it can look very dark. So making sure I'm taking a bit under there. And then I normally tilt my head down and I see how dark it looks with my head tilted down. And I can really see that socket there. I'm going to get a little bit more colour on the back of my hand a sec. Mix that in, just mixing it there. Mixing those 2 colours. And I'm just looking at that colour. I'm just going to fill in that dark line. So I'm not taking it right up underneath the eye where it can crease. I'm actually just concentrating on that lower socket area. And I'm definitely not putting any on this outer bit here. I know that's a really fashionable thing to do, is to put a lot of concealer on this outer socket, this outer sort of wing, especially when you want to clean up eyeshadow. You're talking mainly like this, and that's where the creases are coming. So I'm trying to keep lots of colour and pigment away from this area so it doesn't crease, basically. Because I think most people end up doing makeup, just put a little bit on my eyelid, and they think their makeup's going to be having a photo taken of, and then that's all they need to worry about. If you're doing a bride, if you're doing a real person, if you're doing it for filming, they've got about 12 hours ahead of them. So you need to do their makeup for 12 hours, not for that instant shot. So I think I'm still looking fairly glowy and quite healthy. I know I have got 2 quite different eyes, and we're just going to have to work with that now, and at least you can see the difference. I do need to set a bit of that, and I want to keep my skin looking really glowy, but I am going to use a little bit of setting powder just on my eyelids, because I want just a little bit of a burst of powder just go everywhere then. I don't want eyeshadow to crease, so I'm going to get a really soft brush here, and I'm going to go into my translucent powder. Wow, that's a lot of powder. Sorry guys. Wow. I mean, the way to test if a powder is good is if it goes everywhere, because it was so finely milled that it just, any little touch makes it go miles. So that's obviously a nice one. And I'm going to take that powder onto my eyelids. Christ, have you ever seen a powder like that? That is the first time I've used this one. I don't think that will work in real life. I have to go really gently with it. And I'm just going to set the lids. Flipping heck. Maybe don't buy, this is where, maybe don't buy Revolution powder unless you want it to go absolutely everywhere. I'm going to take a teeny bit into my, let's get rid of some of this, sorry. Onto my under eyes, tiniest little bit, because I really don't want them looking heavy, or else am I looking shiny. Maybe a little bit onto those lines up there where I don't want, I want to make these as matte as possible so they don't jump out at people. Maybe a bit on those brow bones there, because they tend to, I've got very big muscles here from frowning so much, so I tend to try and push those back a bit. And that's probably all the powder I'm going to put on. I want to keep my skin looking as fresh and glowy as possible, so I'm not going to matte it with powder. If it was TV, obviously it would be the complete opposite. I'd be making it very matte, but then on the other hand, I wouldn't have made my skin so dewy in the first place, so I wouldn't have created that problem for myself. Now I want to bring in some extra glow on my cheeks. What time are we at? Okay, about 22. There's different ways of doing this. Obviously, you can use a highlighter, like the drops. Hang on, where are they? Drops, or the Charlotte Tilbury, or whatever, any kind of liquid highlighter. You could use the powder if you wanted. Again, like I said before, I'm quite scared of powder highlighters. I don't think they ever go very well. I'm just going to pop a little bit more of this on top. I know I can get away. I'm going to go back in with my foundation brushes to blend it in. I know I can get away with this highlighter if I had lots of lines, or maybe I didn't want to highlight that with a coloured highlighter. I would use a clear highlighter, and that could be some pore cream, maybe some Vaseline at a push, any kind of little silicone based balm. A brilliant one is MAC mixing medium, so it's just a clear silicone. If I take a little bit out and put it on my back of my hand, I don't really even be able to see it. Can you see that's giving me just the most gorgeous, gorgeous glowy shine, but there's absolutely no colour in there. And that means you don't have to put glittery highlighting products onto someone's skin where they don't want to maybe have that highlight, but you can still make them look super dewy after you've popped a very thick foundation on. So say if I was using Estee Lauder, what's the Estee Lauder full coverage foundation? Is it called full coverage? Or if you're using the Kat Von D foundation, or the Charlotte Tilbury, I don't know what it's called, the main Charlotte Tilbury foundation. They're all extremely thick foundation. They give you very heavy coverage, which some people need, but then they look really matte. So by putting this lovely kind of glossy glow on the skin, you're just getting that shine, but you're not using any glittery products. The great thing about this mixing medium as well, or any mixing medium you use, is that I can pop a little bit of colour into it. So actually I was going to use a lip mix by MAC. These are like pigments in tubes, and you can get all different colours, and like you can get white and you get black, and then you get a few colours in between. You can mix them into the perfect lip colour if you're stuck on a job without the right lip that you need. But actually, let's just try it with a powder eyeshadow so I can show you it can be done. I'm just going to, not eyeshadow, powder blusher. I'm going to take a little bit of this coral onto my finger, and then I'm going to mix that into my mixing medium on the back of my hands. And the warmth of my hand really helps mix these two together until it's kind of a little bit tacky. And I'm going to use that as a blush. So if you're stuck for a cream blush, you know you can always use a mixing medium just to kind of give you a little bit of colour, but without matting the skin down, because you've done all this beautiful, beautiful skin and it looks really glowy. You don't want to be going in and putting a really heavy powdery blusher on top of that. Can you see that little bit of glow it's giving me? So my skin looks super dewy, really hydrated, but I've still got some colour in there. And just build that up as much as you think you can get away with. A really good rule of thumb for cheap cheek colours is to try and match someone's lips. Not lips when they've got lipstick on, as in their natural shade of their lips. Kind of an easy go-to if you're not sure what to put on someone. I really like cheek colour on the apples of my cheeks, so the bits that are the fattest areas. Sometimes if I need to lift someone's face, I will actually take that colour a little bit higher onto the cheekbone, and that will just sculpt and lift them up a little bit more. As for bronzing, I might not want to go in now with a really heavy bronzer, powder-based bronzer, because it can matte the skin. I know Chanel do a great, it's in a a pot. I think it's called Soleil or something, and that's a really great cream bronzer. If you can find any cream bronzers, they're brilliant for your kit, for brides, for anyone. Just do make sure the skin is not powdered and then work that in. It gives a lovely glow. I haven't got any of that with me, so I'm going to use a bit of my NARS. This is an under eye concealer, but it's just in the shade Almond. I'm going to pop a little bit on the back of my hand, or a palette, like I should be doing. And I'm going to use the same foundation brush again. Again, I can do that on me because I'm working on me. Maybe you wouldn't do this in real life. And I'm just going to use that to sort of sculpt into the face. Some cheekbones. Does everyone know where your cheekbones should be? Or where you should define them? It's from your inner ear down into the corner of your mouth. So that line there should join up in theory. I'm going to put in a couple of hard lines there. I actually want to make my forehead look a lot smaller if I can, because I hate how big it is. So I'm going to pop some shadow or some bronzing up into the temples there. And that hopefully is going to trick the eye of the person who's looking at me to concentrate on this area and hopefully make this area recede. And therefore make my forehead look a little bit smaller. I'm going to take a little bit under my cheek. Sorry, my jawline as well, because you know we all need help there, especially after lockdown eating. And then when my brush is virtually dry, again, big thing I'm really must push is to make sure your brush is dry before you start blending, because that's you're just moving products around. I want to move product away and let it blend out. So that's just giving me like a little bit of depth into my sockets. But again, I've done all that without having to take down any glow on my skin. So that is pretty much my skin done, and my dewy, fresh, healthy looking skin. Let's wipe these products off. But I have powdered my eyelids so I don't get that awful crease. You know when you get that horrible crease in there. Right, so let's go in. Has anyone got any questions? Anything they want to talk about or say before I start doing eyes?
There was a question a little bit earlier on about, scroll up. Do you have a dupe or a drugstore alternative for Charlotte Tilbury? Someone has asked.
No. I'm so sorry I don't. And again, because I just don't use high street products. And that's really rubbish. I know, it's just what I get sent is normally quite high end, and what I have to kind of show I've got is quite high end, so I don't have a dupe. I can promise you that some of Charlotte Tilbury's products are absolutely incredible. The cream cheek blushes and the concealers, the under eyes concealers, they're super fine. The ones with bristles on the end, beautiful. Not a lot of coverage, but nice. Obviously the flawless filter I love. But as for the eyeshadow quads, I'm sure you can find those colors in many other palettes. The nude lip glosses are nice because they're a nice nude, but I just think even just in Primark now you've got a million. Surely there's got to be a dupe for it somewhere. There's not that many colors in the world that can be made artificially anyway, so I know there will be out there. I missed a question from Nikki or something someone said about the Charlotte Tilbury or setting spray.
Yeah, so Nikki asked, do you use, I can't say that, do you usually use a setting spray? And she said that the Charlotte Tilbury one is her favourite.
Oh, I didn't even know Charlotte Tilbury did a setting spray. I don't know why. I think because there was no such thing when I started, so that wasn't a luxury you could have. Also, I'm quite confident in how I apply makeup to people that I'm not too worried about it going anywhere. Also, when I'm on TV, I'm working on TV, I'm with them all day, so I don't want to set the makeup so much that I can adjust it or manipulate it. The only times I've used them are at weddings. I don't know if it makes a difference or if it works or not, but I don't seem to get any complaints, because obviously at a wedding I'm not with the bride all day, I can't touch her up. So I have used them there, and I've used the Urban Decay and the MAC, but essentially they're just water really, and once you spray water onto the skin it sort of like dries and sucks up, and that's how a setting spray works, is that you're sort of coating the skin in this like moisture and then it absorbs, and that would set the makeup there. So probably not worth spending too much money. Oh, I do use when I was younger I did used to use Owlnet hairspray a lot on my face, and that worked really well, but I'm not meant to advise people to do that. it blurs your base so well. Ooh, well, maybe I'll have to get them to send me some and try it, and then I'll let you guys know next time. Okay, so I'm going to go in and do a fairly basic eye. I hope it's something you can all do at your level. I would say a really classic eye is made up of 3 components: the sort of base color, the all over shade, a mid-tone, and then the darker color for really accentuating or defining, making a cat eye or whatever. I'm going to use this little palette from Laura Mercier, the Extreme Neutrals eyeshadow palette. I think it's a great, I mean, that is like a TV makeup person's dream, because there's a few mattes, a couple of shimmers, nothing offensive, nothing bright. I would probably assume that you think quite boring, but it's quite handy, and also for brides. So the first color I'm going to sweep all over my eyes is a really matte cream color. So I'm going to go in for, this is a bit pinky. I'm actually going to go for this slightly yellowier cream, and I'm going to swipe that all over my eyes. Now, maybe I would use a eyeshadow primer on the lid beforehand. I've been working with Mary Berry a lot recently, and Elaine Page. Both those women are in their 70s, and you can have surgery on your eyes, and well, I'm not going to say if anyone has had surgery on their eyes, but quite often this piece of skin here is cut away, so that really does help to keep a definition in there. But the reason I use a primer on lids that sort of either come over, maybe Asian lids, older skin lids, is because if skin is on skin, the heat there is going to melt your eyeshadow and turn it back into an oil again, and that's when you get the creasing. I don't need to do it so much on me because I haven't got to that stage yet, but I promise you I will. Give it a few more years. So I'm going to pop that cream all over the eyes. Now, this eyeshadow is going to look slightly different on each eye because obviously I have a huge amount of concealer on this one. But a nice cream base, a nice matte cream shadow base is a great start for anyone's eye. If the skin's darker, maybe you wouldn't do like a really light cream. You'd maybe do a nice wash of like a mid-tone, like a pale chocolatey shade, or maybe like a taupe. Second stage I'm going to go in with is that mid shade that I just pointed to, sort of this lovely matte taupey pale brown, and this is the part where I'm going to start defining the shape of my eye. So I want my eyes to look as big as possible. I want my lid to be as broad as possible, so I'm actually going to make my crease a little bit higher than the actual crease I've got. So this is my base. In fact, I might put a little bit more concealer on there just so I can show you a really defined look. Let's pop a little bit more concealer on the lid. Sorry, we're going back a stage here. This not really useful for you guys, but I need to show the difference. I'm going to blend that in. And I'm going to pop a little bit of powder on just to set it. It's dash translucent powder that hopefully won't go everywhere again. I'm going to set that on the lid. And then let's pop a bit more, pop that cream back over the top again. Right, so I've accentuated my lid a little bit more by making it a lot paler. Now with this taupe that I've got on my blending brush, I'm just really defining that crease. Now this is going to be quite a strong crease because I really, really want whoever's looking at me to concentrate on the fact that they can see my lid is lighter than the socket. So in theory, my eyes will look so much bigger. And again, I've not gone in and put any more colour on my brush. It was like one dab of colour, and I'm just still working with it. And I'm just going back and forth and blending up into, I'm holding the end of the brush, so I've got not much weight and not much control on my brush. It's really quite floppy, and I can go right up into my eyebrows. So that line is just seeping away back into the distance. Let's do it on this eye as well. I'm not going too far into my inner socket. The reason I'm not going right into here is because I don't want to look tired. I don't want to give myself any deeper sockets in here that I need. I want the depth of my socket to be over here. I want to fake people think that I've got a really big lid when I don't really. This is also what I use if I've got someone who have their lids are over, are touching their eyelashes, or slightly their eyes are receding, is that I fake a lid. So that's my second stage. I'm actually going to go back in with this kind of finer, more stiff brush that I used to put the cream colour on to actually deposit the darkest colour. So I'm going to go in with this really bitter chocolate at the end. I'm going to pop a bit of that on my brush, tap it off. Now I'm going to start really getting the shape in there that I want. So I know I want a winged eye. Michelle, could you tell me the whole of that? Because I only see the first 3 words and then it cuts off. Or could someone read it? It's only because I'm on my phone, you see, so I can't see the whole sentences like a laptop would.
I can read it out to you. So she has said, would you still use a cream shadow on mature clients like Mary Berry?
So, sorry, when I say cream shadow, I mean the colour cream, not the type of eyeshadow. And that was my fault for not explaining that properly. I mean the cream, I'm using this cream colour, not the creaminess. And no, I wouldn't use any cream eyeshadow products on anyone over the age of 12, really. Right, so I've taken that line and I've kind of drawn my wing. Now I want my eyes to look as cat-like and as elongated as possible, so I'm drawing the line out quite far. If someone had skin or any folds of skin coming over here, I would stop that a lot shorter. But I'm actually going to bring that up to the original crease, the sort of fake socket crease that I've drawn in before. These look quite crude at the moment, but that is fine because you're going to blend them in. I'm just getting that colour pushed into there, and then I'm going back in with my blending brush that pretty much has no colour left on it now, and I can just blend those in. So I'm just hopefully widening and just bringing out my eyes. Now these are all matte shades. I've not used any shimmer in them at all. I definitely think there's a huge place for shimmer. I love a really lovely shimmery, glossy, glittery lid. But I just think if you use mattes, you're not going to go wrong. You can bring your shimmer in later, but get the structure and the shape of your eye in with the matte colours first. And I'm also going to take a little bit of that dark colour underneath my eye as well. Oh, I've got a bit far there. That was my fault. Should have been using a thinner brush. I can see this eye here where I put the concealer on is already starting to crease underneath here and look a little bit rubbish. I'll pop a little bit more in density into the colour, density of colour into the corner. So I can really start building up that shading now. And go back in with a blending brush again. So I'm not putting any more colour on the brush. Each time I do it, I'm just using that kind of empty brush just to really buff that colour in, move everything around. Now, if I want my lids to stand out even more and have a real pop, let's see if I can get something to make that happen. Bear with me, I'm gonna, bear with me, I'm just gonna run and get another hat here. So this is when you can go in and get that really amazing kind of shimmery lid if you want to. This is a Stila Shimmer and Glow liquid eyeshadow. It goes onto as a liquid and dries as a powder. You can just dot it onto the inner eye. Amazing pop of highlight, and a little tiny bit onto the lids. Maybe look down or get your clients close. Well, definitely get your clients to close their eyes when you're doing that, and buff that in just so it doesn't go up onto the top lid. And that sort of liquid gold can just be blurred out really gently on the lid. I've put a small amount of product on there because I don't want it to go everywhere. I want to be able to manipulate it before it dries. And almost instantly, as soon as you touch it, it really dries in and it will really set itself in place. So let's take that out into the eyes. Can you see how that sort of made my eyelids look like they're jumping out more than they were before? So now I've got that on there and I kind of like the shape and the colour of my eyes. I'm going to go in with my liner. A very fine liner brush, I don't know if you can see that there, very, very fine. And I'm going to use my Black Track by MAC. I've bought this again and again and again. It's one of the best in the original cream liner products. The reason we use pots of eyeliner instead of a liner pen is just for hygiene. I really like liner pens. In fact, I use them on myself every day. At the moment, I'm using an Elf, I don't know, it's like Elf Pro liner, and it's like a little felt pen in a pot. It's absolutely brilliant, but I have to use pots because we're using it on other people. So again, taking a tiny bit onto my very fine liner brush, and I'm using my finger to balance against my face or the client's face. I'd get them to look down. I'll start at the outer eye and just draw a little wing in there. In theory, your brush will be stiff enough and a good enough brush to actually kind of guide that colour for you. So you're not doing the work. The shape of the brush is creating that wing for you. Again, if I had a slightly hooded eye, I'd stop that wing a lot shorter. In fact, I probably wouldn't do a liquid eye on a slightly more hooded eye or an older eye. I'd maybe just do an angle brush like this. Hang on, let me get my angle brush. You see that angle brush there with a bit of eyeshadow, maybe a little touch of water in the eyeshadow to mix up a colour. But you can get away with this in slightly younger skin. I especially like a liquid liner when I'm going to put false lashes on, because it really helps blend the seam of the eyelashes in with your real eyelashes. I'm just going to take that into my inner eye. Again, I'm using my baby finger just to keep them really steady along there. I'm just going to meet the two together. Do the other eye. Now, what I am conscious of is that I'm touching my skin with my finger, and I can feel, because it's such a dewy, glossy skin, I can feel it touching on my finger. So if this was in real life, I'd probably put a little powder puff on my baby finger just so I wouldn't be affecting the skin in any way, or the client's skin, I should say. Okay, so once that's on, I might just blend that line a little bit. Get like a slightly bigger blending brush there. Can you see, sorry, angle brush. Can you see how it's a very thin brush, but it's on an angle? I'm going to take my darker shade again. And I think I'm going to take the middle one, which has got like a teeny bit of shimmer in the brown. And I'm just going to go over that edge of that line, just to soften it a little bit, just so it doesn't look too fake or too harsh, so I can get it really like classic and smoky. Just as the liquid line meets the pale eyeshadow, I'm just blending those two lines together. I sometimes stop just before I get to the inner eye because I want to keep that line quite clean and I want to keep the eye looking as bright as possible. If you shade your liquid liner right into the inner eye, it can close up the eye. I hope you can see what I'm doing. I appreciate it's really bad, probably quite bad lighting and a really bad camera. Just going to dust any little bits off. Now, the problem here is that because I've got really glossy skin, if any eyeshadow falls onto it, so if you don't top the eyeshadow brushes off, you've got no way of dusting that off. It will blend in. So that has happened a little bit, but luckily I've got enough product there just to blend that in. Okay, mascara. So in terms of waterproof and normal mascara, if you need a waterproof, use tubing mascara. Tubing mascara just coats each lash in like a little tube and it can only come off with warm water. I think it's so much better than waterproof mascara and so much easier to get off. Let's just pop a load of mascara on. I curl my eyelashes. I really recommend anyone you curl their eyelashes. I use a metal eyelash curler and I heat it in a hairdryer, and then I curl their eyelashes with that very hot metal eyelash curler. Obviously, I mean, goes without saying, doesn't it? Be really careful. I always test it on the back of my hand first to make sure it's not too burning hot. And I always give them a warning by testing it on their cheek before I go into their eyelashes. but it makes a huge difference. It opens up their eyes so much more. How much longer have we got? Oh, God, crikey, we're at 2 o'clock. I was going to put eyelashes on. I'm not going to put eyelashes on. I'm going to leave you guys just with that kind of classic smoky eye. I haven't even done my eyebrows. Oh no, let's just quickly just do a little bit. I actually like my eyebrows to start a lot closer towards my nose because they're very bald at the end of it. Anyway, that is a kind of a classic smoky eye, and thank you for coming.
Thank you so much, Victoria. And for anyone who's watching, we're going to be back. We're going to take a break now and be back at about 3 o'clock when Victoria is going to talk to us about careers and answer questions all about freelancing and getting into the business. So we will see you all later, hopefully. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. I'll see you guys just before 3, and I'll see everyone else at 3.
Okay, thank you.
Bye. Bye.